Hi, this is Abhishek here, your host for the Unified Experience video channel, and we are back again with a new episode. And we have Finney, if you remember him from our previous video cast, where we started talking about introducing unified experiences and what we think that's for retailers. So, welcome, Finney.
Hey,
Good to have you again.
thank you.
So, You're welcome, Fari. And for all the audience, today what we're going to talk about is essentially how the retail industry has been going through a phenomenal amount of change and the new models that are evolving on a day-to-day basis. We are also seeing, and in fact, I think all of us agree, the role technology has been playing in disrupting and even making certain traditional ways of doing things irrelevant. So today's podcast is going to talk about how retailers can truly design and build systems to accommodate and address the changing customer preferences. Most importantly, the ability to add new experiences and accommodating the ever increasing amount of channels through which the customers reach out to you. We have seen the need for the systems to be more agile and requiring a higher degree of automation and the ability to be transformative. And this is where we are going to talk about with Finney on something that we call the headless architecture and what it is all about. For all our viewers to just set the context, headless architecture, we want to talk about it as a concept where the backend business specific systems are separated from the front end systems to enable the flexibility and accommodate new immersive customer experiences. With that, I'm going to start kind of having a discussion with Finney and, try and understand what his take is about. So, once again, Finney, I think the second welcome for the day. And here we go with the very first question that we have. Why headless retail strategy and why it's a critical piece for unified commerce? So, Finney, just to start with it, would you help us in defining some of the big challenges that the retailers face today and how has retail changed over a period of time?
Right. Thanks, Abhishek. Thank you so much for having me again part of this show. And yeah, to jump straight into the question which you asked, what are some of the big challenges which retailers face, right? We know that technology has been rapidly redefining itself. In fact, the experience is being redefined every now and then, right?
Mhm.
There are new channels which are being added at lightning speed, and technology is also changing and adding new experiences to customers from web-based commerce site, and things are from just web-based commerce to become mobile enabled, and then you had the whole
Mhm.
shopping through Alexa, voice shopping really coming in, and then now with AR VR technology coming in. Again, like technology like Oculus Quest 2 can actually enable virtual shopping experience in the future. With the emergence of online commerce, the footfalls for our stores also have significantly gotten impacted, right? Typically
Mhm.
making retailers rethink on their offline strategy. So there is this whole synergy between your digital and your physical stores, which is missing, right?
Mhm.
So we see that the space between online and offline has also reduced, and the age of omni-channel has enabled, right, building a brand, or brand to build solutions connecting online and offline channels. So
Correct.
that is definitely one challenge which retailers face at this point of a time. And the other challenge which I can think about is rigid monolithic systems, right? See, monolithic system definitely have their advantages, right?
Mhm.
Traditionally, if you see, most of the retailers run their backend systems on products which are very well established. But these products, though they have been very helpful, right, are always slow to change and adapting to disruptive technologies. So that again is one challenge which we are seeing. Then also
Mhm.
the other thing which we are seeing is retailing has changed, right, over the last decade, and we see how technology is entered every aspect of the area. We spoke about that earlier,
Correct.
um,
Yeah.
and digital is becoming a big revenue driver for retailers, especially given the fact that we just got over this whole pandemic, and all our shopping literally moved from going to shop and buying it to buying it on a digital channel, kind of,
Hmm.
else. And we've also seen all the big retailers making huge investments on digital channels because they've become their primary revenue drivers, right?
Correct.
Now, technology adoption also started. It started as a single channel strategy, gradually moved to experiences, progressing to multi-channel strategy, and then
Hmm.
and then we started seeing connected experiences, right? And then came the whole omni-channel experience, and now we are talking about unified commerce experience, because now what has happened is the the user journey could typically start either from within your ecosystem, or it could even start from outside your ecosystem, and the customer is expecting that the experiences it should be the same, or
Hmm.
should be consistent across, whether it is whether he starts from outside the system and slowly navigates into the system, into your brand owned digital channels, or if he continues to work out of say a marketplace, or social media shopping, the
Hmm.
experience they expect is the same, right? So naturally, the experience is becoming without limits or without boundary, and that is posing also as a big challenge for, if you don't have a great digital strategy, this is going to definitely pose as one of the challenges. And the last, of course, experience has become the new mantra, right? To be
Correct.
in stores or online, customers want to have a very immersive experience, and the
Hmm.
traditional outlook and experience in stores need to be enhanced with newer experience, and that kind of ties back to the initial challenge we spoke about. Bring How do you bring digital and physical channel together,
Hmm.
and make and give the experience of a digital channel even in your physical channels, bringing in new experiences in store and enhancing new experiences within store is something which retailers are now grappling with. But at this point of a time, there is a huge gap in it, and that is a big challenge at this point of a time. So these are some challenges. Just to recap, right? I mean, let me just recap. One is, of course, the challenge between the gap between the physical and the digital channel.
Hmm.
The second is, of course, rigid monolithic systems, being on in the way of digital disruption. The third, of course, is what we saw about moving from omni-channel to a unified commerce experience, right? That's
Hmm.
another one. And the last, of course, providing experience both within in your digital channel or in your physical channel are some of the top four issues I see at this point of a time.
Hmm. Uh, Pretty interesting. And in fact, one point that you made, Finney, while you spoke about the recap, one thing that I'll want to highlight is, see, you spoke about the gap and you spoke about the differences between the physical and the digital, but the customer facing channels, Finney, have become much more scalable and agile. Do you still think there's a problem?
See, I'm not telling that the current landscape does not work anymore, right? I mean, I'm really not telling that. But what we see is the current technology, as much as it has met some of today's needs,
Hmm.
the place in which the customer behavior has changed is far more faster than what the technology can scale and adopt at this point of a time, right? That's
Hmm.
really where I'm coming. The current solution could scale and support various new experiences and new customer behaviors, right?
Hmm.
But if it is not looked holistically, okay, or if it is not embraced, or if it is not looked from a holistic fashion,
Hmm.
you could be left out in this whole experience game. So
Okay.
that is what I'm really trying to arrive at.
So if that's the point, let me jump right onto it. If I have to ask you, can you help us explain in a bit more detail what headless commerce is all about, and an overview of the thought process? What is headless commerce, and why do you think this is something that the retailers should be looking out to, or in fact should probably start adopting as well?
Right. See, in simple terms, right, headless commerce is a separation of front end and back end systems, and I think that's like a no brainer. A lot of people will know it anyways. But what we see is that this separation will lead to flexibility, where you should be able to accommodate as many as front end experiences you need, while the back end system will be able to cater to your front end experience. Like for example, sometimes we limit headless commerce to only website and say a mobile channel, but necessarily need not be that, right? Your
Okay.
backend system is so robust that it should be able to be be used whether it is within your digital ecosystem or outside your digital ecosystem. I'll just give you a couple of examples, right? One is I've seen a very large telecom retailer actually exposing their financing module, right? A module through which you can finance the product which you are buying, exposing that financing module to third party solutions as well. Not when I say third party solutions, I'm talking about marketplaces, I'm talking about dealers who sell their product. So anybody who come and buy that particular brand's product is eligible to use the financing option of that particular particular company or particular retailer to finance their product, right? That's the kind of that's one example which I can give. The other example I can give is what Coles is doing, right? Coles typically has made their backend system so flexible that that even if you buy a product in the marketplace, right? Like you could have bought a product in Amazon and you don't like the product, you can actually walk into Coles, and Coles actually have your data that you bought it in the marketplace, and they are able to take returns or exchange of the data of the product which you bought in the marketplace, right?
Okay.
Now imagine the kind of flexibility the system allows you to do, and also imagine the benefits which kind of brings about while you do that. You have people who bought things in the marketplace, you are then walking into Coles itself. Now you can connect with the customer, and you can upsell, cross sell, in fact build that relationship with the customer while they walk into the stores. So that way you are also improving and increasing the footfalls in your stores, right? So that's what it is. So coming back to the concept itself, this separation of front end and back end, right, will give retailers more flexibility, convenience, and consistency, right? If I want to talk about flexibility, the first point, right? Flexibility, to a point where the backend system will handle all major objects, okay, like product, catalog, promotion, loyalty, wish list, orders, to just name a few, right? And the front end will only include building experiences like e-com site, mobile site, or even plugging into social media, shopping, customer service, having a complete view of your all your customer service systems, plugging into the backend systems, and then you have other very novel channels like voice enabled shopping or AR VR kind of a shopping, and so that is something which we are talking about. And the other part of it is I spoke about consistency, right? Again, headless commerce will bring in consistency, right? While the user journeys can start from any of these channels, the movement from one channel to another will be consistent and seamless, because each channel can handhold and will point to the same source of data, right? So there is a degree of consistency. See, other aspect of consistency is the single view of product, customer, order, and inventory, which I spoke about, right? This comes primarily because the backend system is consolidated and maintains a consolidated storage of customer, which includes their online behavior, like their search, their page visits, abandoned products probably, and product feedback, service feedback. All of it is maintained as a single view. So the ability for you to give consistent experience or give consistent services is much more better, right? And if this information is used across all the channels, imagine the consistency with relation to recommendations, personalizations, feedback handling, customer support. Imagine how it will improve, right? And finally, right, the other aspect is to provide the brand experience which is same across all the channels, right?
Correct.
Both within and outside the retailers ecosystem. Like even external systems like marketplace, third-party sites will
Mm-hmm.
be able to utilize backend services of the retailer so that the customers can enjoy the convenience and the convenience the brand in fact intends to offer, right?
Correct.
That is what I'm looking at. Like for example, again, if I have to go back and talk about the example, again going back to some of these large telecom retailers. Now
Mm-hmm.
these telecom retailers could have within their system could have a residual value calculator, which typically calculates the residual value of the old phone which I'm having. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
I have a phone and I have a if the telecom retailer has a residual value calculator. Now if that is on a if that is on a headless architecture, typically what could happen is any third party systems or marketplaces can typically use that module
Mm-hmm.
and calculate the residual value of the product irrespective of which channel I log into, right?
Correct.
That is something which is that will also, what will happen is I will be more inclined to buying a product which is ready to buy back my product with the residual value and offer a discount for the residual value,
Mm-hmm.
and I just pay the delta and pick up the product. Now I'm more inclined to do that. Also what happens is I'm more inclined and I'm more happy with the customer experience because across all the channels, irrespective of whether it is within the brand's ecosystem or outside the brand's ecosystem, I am getting the same brand experience, right? So that experience is something which I think a lot of customers will be very happy to have or be associated with
Mm-hmm.
while navigating and buying products.
So I have one point to make, and probably after that, I'll pose my next question. The first point that I want to make is I think the point that I'm going to make is I think what you're trying to say is help customer recognize and associate with the brand rather than the channel through which they reach out to you. That will ensure the consistent brand experience that you're talking about. That's
Absolutely.
actually a pretty good point. That brings to my next question. You spoke a lot about headless commerce and why it's important and all. But from the perspective of technology, if I look at it, didn't it sound very similar to a microservices architecture? What's the difference when you say headless commerce and microservices architecture?
Yeah. That's a great question. You could ask whether it's a microservices architecture, or the other spectrum. You could even ask whether it's a decoupled architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either of it you could ask. But let me try answering this, right? Typically, a headless commerce solution is a
Mm-hmm.
combination of technologies, right? Namely,
Correct.
it could be a e-commerce software and a
Mm-hmm.
headless CMS of some sorts, right? Using
Mm-hmm.
APIs to push pull content and product information to the new front end, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And the company can extend their shopping experience to new channels, like say smart speakers or digital signages or things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, the backend system, as I said earlier, could be a commerce platform which comprises of all the commerce elements like product pricing, taxation, promotion, orders, loyalty, inventory, customers, internationalization, and the same is integrated through the APIs which are exposed.
Mm-hmm.
However, to answer your question, yes, I've seen some mature enterprises also have gone the microservices way to enable higher degree of freedom and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
This is something we have seen in more mature enterprises where the spread of business is wide and they
Mm-hmm.
have multiple touch points with partners. That is something which
Okay.
we have definitely seen. And
Mm-hmm.
to answer the other spectrum of it, whether is it a decoupled CMS architecture, right? Headless versus a decoupled CMS architecture is to it's like if you think of a think of a decoupled as a proactive architecture, whereas a headless is a reactive architecture, right? Let me
Mm-hmm.
explain that a little more. A decoupled architecture like prepares the content of the backend and then proactively deliver and the present formatted content in various channels, right?
Okay.
Whereas
Hmm.
a headless CMS, on the other hand, is content only, right? Data source, and
Hmm.
has no functionality within the CMS to present the content, to the end user on its own, right? So
Okay.
that is typically the difference between the decoupled architecture and a headless architecture.
So you have not finited the scope of the content. You are essentially presenting the content in the raw format and let the channel decide how they want to do it. And that's essentially what headless
Absolutely.
commerce is all about.
Absolutely.
Hmm. That was something that was a different view at it. But now that we spoke so much about headless, Finny, coming from my own background, this does look Herculean and overwhelming, right? If you have to present it as a solution architect or somebody who's trying to consult with a retailer, how and where do you think, if you just have to take one or two final points out of it, how and where do you think you will want to start with?
See, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, as a concept, this could be overwhelming, right? However, there are multiple stages in the roadmap, and I always
Hmm.
say start small. You identify areas which could create the maximum business impact and start making them headless. Once you have this, you have a successfully built case to further the concept, right? I mean, you see success in a specific area, you can then go back to the business and say, see, this has been successful, so I think we should
Hmm.
we should go headless all over, right? You
Okay.
can do that. And initially you might want to go headless from a commerce perspective alone, right? This will help you add more digital channels, then make and then start making changes to all the stores channel, and then making changes to the business solutions like your financing solution, warranty solution,
Hmm.
or like the residue calculator which I spoke about, and then and then adapt it as a philosophy across the board, right? So you start again here. I've said you start with the commerce, and
Hmm.
then start making experiences also headless, so that
Hmm.
initially when I say start with commerce will be headless for your internal consumption, right? And then you start adding experiences on top of your commerce, so that
Hmm.
that can be slowly modeled for external consumption as well, right? And then what we see is, over a period of time, you will model your architecture where scalability, extensibility, and shareability becomes an integral part of your building blocks. So it in essence does not have to be a big bang approach. You could
Hmm.
start very methodically, but adapt it as a philosophy over a period of time. That will be my 2 cents on this.
So kind of refers back to the Lego block analogy that we had in our previous session when you exposed what unified experiences as a concept is all about and as a framework to be utilized. Hmm.
Right.
So at least we see connecting the dots here. So we are gradually progressing in the way we are wanting, or we want to advise retailers to look into unified experiences as a framework. Uh,
Absolutely.
Thanks, thanks for that, Vinny. With that, in the interest of time, and knowing that we can always go on and on, if we have to highlight, Vinny, what will be some of the very feasible or possible outcomes that you can talk about for headless retail?
Yeah, I've touched upon it, but let me summarize that, right? Definitely consistent brand experience within
Hmm.
the system, consistent brand experience outside the brand ecosystem as well, right? And then ability to quickly add experiences both online
Hmm.
and in store to keep up with the customer experience. And finally, irrespective of where the journey starts, your journey continues with consistent experience across all the channels. So that's in a nutshell, what I would call as benefits, Abhishek.
Okay, so again, I think that is what we also, as a concept for unified experience, what you spoke about in our last conversation, building on what you have rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and starting from scratch. Depending upon where you are on your journey, you pick and choose what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that, Fanny. So now a very important question. We always talk about things, and we say this is a concept, this is a framework that we want to use. But what really excites people is who is doing it. Has somebody done it? So would you care to elaborate on a few experiences that you think in this space are working really fine and are live at this point in time?
See, definitely, Abhishek. See, to I did give a lot of examples through the last 20 minutes, but
Hmm.
let me point to something which we also had done a few months back. So this is again for a large retailer, electronic retailer in the Middle East space, who typically who just wanted to go headless because they
Hmm.
didn't um, want to have the same storefront as which comes along with the COTS product, right?
Okay.
So we kind of chose a particular product, but we decided that the front end will be headless, and so we kind of built that. But while we started to build it, we also started to build certain experiences. Like for example, I'll just give you one experience which we built. We built a wallet app. Okay, we
Hmm.
built a wallet app which typically can be used within the ecosystem. But to a point, what happened is, I mean, of course, the wallet app had its strong backend system, and of course, certain front end capabilities. But because the whole philosophy is on headless, we kind of made it loosely connected. But at that point of a time, what really happened was this wallet app started to become so famous that
Hmm.
today across Middle East, this wallet is being used in a lot of you know uh, e-commerce sites,
Hmm.
or a lot of other retailers have adopted or use this wallet as one of the payment methods.
Hmm.
Now if you see, right, we started with just making it headless, but
Hmm.
over a period of time we built on that and made a separate module to function very very effectively, that it itself became a revenue generator for the customer. So
That,
I
that's
can talk. I
that's a
can
great example of monetization, right? So you build something for
absolutely,
yourself and you also found the opportunity to monetize it further. Great. Yeah. Please
absolutely.
continue.
I can keep talking about a lot of examples, but what we see in essence, what we see is a lot of people are, or a lot of retailers are now understanding why they need to why they need to go headless. And again, like as I said, some of them are starting very small. Any new experiences they are building, they are starting with a very small headless approach, and then gradually making the existing systems as well headless, and moving forward
Hmm.
from there. So I think that's the way the people are going, especially if you want to give a true sense of unified commerce experience. I think it is important that you do have headless in your roadmap. That's the way I would say.
Cool. So thanks, Finny. Just to talk back to our audience, please do reach out to us in case you have any further questions. Me, Finny, or anybody from our Spy system will be more than glad to help. And thanks to you, Finny, again for coming on board and helping us understand right from unified experience to where we are on headless commerce, what it's all about. Uh, for the closure statements, I'll just want to emphasize on the need for headless retail and state certain points around it. In the analogy, if I have to state, it isn't running around all over the place with a reference to like a headless chicken, but the ability to adapt depending upon which head the body is serving. Today it is social commerce. We are all seeing how social commerce is suddenly come all over, and everywhere where we go there is an option to buy through the social commerce channel. And what we are seeing for the future is the IoT commerce with connected smart devices rapidly gaining up. So today it is social commerce, tomorrow it is IoT commerce with smart connected devices, day after tomorrow it might be something else, and the future will keep on evolving the shopping experiences. And that is where the ease of a retailer's journey in future will depend upon their ability to adapt to these experiences. And that's what headless commerce approach and principle is all about. It is the way to truly enable retailers to continue adding more channel to serve their end customers without getting tied down by backend applications. And just like we said earlier, and we continue to say so, it's a journey which progresses with each milestone you cross and will need a strategy to ensure you can continue. With that, we come to an end of today's channel. Thanks again, Finney, for taking the time out. Good to have you on board again, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks, everyone,
Thank you
and
so much, Abhishek.
good night, good day, good evening, wherever you are. Bye bye, and take care.